Hey guys, welcome back to school season, also known as oh my gosh, summer went by way too fast and now thank goodness we get to get back into some routines. Woohoo! Anyone else? In today's episode, I'm breaking down the routines that went down the toilet this summer for my family, and then how we're going to get back into the groove with some of the routines I am most looking forward to. So, this episode is for you if you are feeling the changes of the seasons. Welcome back. I love routines. And while my husband and close friends can absolutely attest to the spontaneous side of me that can easily be convinced to take a last minute vacation, my more normal tempo is one of routine. I just feel so much more in control of my life. And I just feel like it makes things so much easier. It helps the family unit operate on the same page and efficiently. And I just feel like it overall manages expectations all around. And I will say that even with the routines in place, like bedtime or, church on Sundays or whatever the routine may be, I never find myself feeling bored or like the routines in my life are mundane. Once upon a time, when I would say I was doing the whole hamster wheel living, I did feel that way. But now today, the routines just tend to keep some general order in my life. Well, insert summer vacation time with the kids, the time where we have no choice but just to embrace the chaos of throwing routines out the freaking window. Random play dates here, sleep in there, late night movie this week, camping trip the next. Like, sure, your grandparents and cousins can come over and spoil you beyond reason because that's what they're for. And why should rules ever exist in the first place, right? Thank gosh you're in back to school season. Just thank you. Now, of course, I know that back to school will come with its own struggles. And I remember even last year, my son, one of my favorite stories, my son started full day kindergarten and he came home from school for the first couple weeks just exhausted beyond reason. He was hungry, he was tired, he was just adjusting. And it got pretty intense one of the days when he came home and he was just this total hot mess and kept saying something about, well, Leo said that if we touch this brown rock at school, so we either don't go to sleep for 10 days or we have COVID and die. I'm sitting there, I'm like, what? Kids, man, just kids. My son refused to go to sleep that night. And when he finally did pass out, it was on the floor of my bedroom in his little superhero sleeping bag. And, don't worry, like fast forward, he did wake up the next day. Thank you. And I haven't met this Leo fellow yet, but boy, I've got words for his parents one day. One day. So, needless to say, although I'm hunkering down for the events of what will come in the first few weeks of school, I'm also very excited to get back to some of our more normally scheduled programs. As we're preparing what this next month looks like, I am finding myself in reflection about some of the ways that our routines may have unexpectedly changed over the season, and some for the worse and some for the better. So today's episode, it's just all about unjuggling the routines in the household, and I kind of feel like you might be able to relate. So I'll share three things that went down the toilet for us this summer, and then three routines that I'm looking forward to adopting just as we head into the school year and wrapping up the year. So, first down the toilet routine, kids waking up on time. So for us, it's kids waking up no later than 7 a.m. So they're sleeping in over the summer, which then obviously, right, it's a roller coaster ripple effect. It meant later bedtimes, which only then continued the cycle, making it extremely difficult to get to any early morning events like church or anything else that we had planned for them. So inevitably, bedtime routine was thrown off. Gosh knows when they were actually showering or reading in the evenings, or all of that was also thrown out the window. Did they have the time of their lives this summer? You bet your bottom dollar they sure did. Did I realize just how much they really enjoyed staying in jammies all day and not having busy plans all the time? Yes, I realized that too. My daughter would come downstairs and she would ask for it was a couple of weeks or at the beginning of the summer, and she would always ask, "Mommy, do I have to get out of my jammies today? Do I have to get out of my jammies today?" And the more times that I was like, "Heck no, you don't have to get out of your jammies today," I realized just how much joy that brought to her. So it was a good reminder that the hustle and the busy culture we live in is taking a toll on these kiddos too, and it just helped me be a little bit more aware of what we'll be committing to in the fall season, because that's when it gets really busy for us too. The second routine that we stopped cold turkey was our adult softball leagues on Wednesday night. And I know for everyone, it won't be softball, but just the general idea that I saw a lot of folks abandon regularly scheduled activities that they would do for themselves. Things like couples who had been pretty religious about date nights, they stopped because summer schedules just became too unpredictable. Or heck, even going to like my Orange Theory workouts. Like I put that on the back burner because it just felt as though summer had us out and about and just enough out of routine that committing to scheduled workouts, I just didn't prioritize it. So, and I'm not sad that I didn't prioritize the workouts because I did truly enjoy the events of the summer. But I can say I really miss the softball field, just the weekly meetup with just like good people all there to just unwind from the day. And we're watching the sunset over the mountains and you're hearing the buzzing of the field lights and just to have fun and let the kids run around and just this little softball family we were becoming. And it is definitely one of those things that once you stop, it's so hard to jump back into. So I'm hopeful that we'll make something happen for the fall season, but also starting to navigate the kids being pretty active in fall sports. So what is that gonna look like? And I don't quite know yet. So I guess pray for me. Okay. And then the third routine that really went sideways for us this summer. Oh my gosh, our diets and what we were feeding ourselves and our family. I mean, I'm not complaining about the frequent weekend barbecues, but I am saying my children lived off popsicles, mac and cheese, and barbecue this summer, like all summer long. It was just so convenient to toss the popsicle snacks at them while they're out running in the sprinklers or just to have them grab another bag of chips because we weren't quite sure what was for dinner or what when we'd be having dinner. And again, I'm telling you, these kids lived their best lives this summer in all the ways. Were they solid long-term choices? Probably, definitely not. But isn't that why it's so great that at any time, in any place, we can always just make a different choice? So, different, more healthier choices will become a part of the routine again as we get back into the school groove. Speaking of food, in fact, this summer we did cook more as a family. So even though we weren't eating the best, when we actually did sit down and make meals, we did it together. And I absolutely loved that. We weren't on rushed timelines. It just made it a lot easier to say yes to the kids when they asked if they could help. So we slowed down and we enjoyed making pancakes and eggs and meatballs and corn dip for all the barbecue parties and s'mores. And my son, he literally lit up when we taught him how to cook his own hot dog on the grill. Like, he was the coolest thing because he could cook his own hot dogs. So that's one positive summer routine that we'll bring with us as we hit this new season. Just cooking together as a family. And if that means that we have a little bit more of a mess to clean up, you know what? That's okay. Because if it means too that we need to eat a little later than expected, that's also okay. I just realized that the joy and the connection being made as a family, it was and is so much more important than keeping up again with like these busy, busy timelines. Even as I do think ahead of the sports schedules, like I plan on having the kiddos help me when we do meal prep. I'll take some time on the weekend, just like on a Saturday morning, and I'll bust out a couple different meals and they're going to help and they're going to love it. I really do think they will. Another positive routine that we'll be keeping is just this idea that it's okay to do things for just a couple hours. I used to feel like maybe it was because the kids were younger, so it required more effort, or we had to be all in on plans with people, or like that just it wouldn't be enough if we couldn't commit to the whole event. For instance, like example with swimming, maybe if we were going to go swimming, I had it in my brain that it was going to have to be this whole afternoon event. We were going to have to bring the towels and the coolers and all the things. And then so what would happen is sometimes we wouldn't go. And this was previously, but this summer we really adopted just a couple hours. We just allowed just a couple hours to be our commitment, and it ended up actually creating more time for us to say yes to the things we wanted to do, and also feel less guilty about saying no to things we didn't want to do because we felt like, oh, hey, well, we actually just saw them last week, or we just saw them for a couple hours yesterday. Just a couple hours, it was enough, and it didn't have to be more than that. So when, for instance, neighbors would say, hey, let's go to the pool for a couple hours, we as a family unit would be prepared and agree, hey, a couple hours, let's grab some towels, few snacks, few drinks. And that was that. So I'm proud of us because instead of maybe some of the FOMO that we would have previously, where you're like, oh, bring lunch and bring dinner just in case everybody wants to hang out. It's like, no, that's okay. So by just showing up for just a couple hours, it allowed us to fill our cup, and it kind of created a little boundary, managed expectations. Again, I think that that's so important, even with our kids, just letting them know, hey, we're going to go. And when we get hungry for lunch, then we're going to come back home. And then before you know it, was like, man, we just busted out having a great time at the pool. It's not even noon yet. And we have the whole afternoon to do a whole bunch of other things. It just really made the summer feel full. And if it wasn't a couple hours at the pool, it was a couple hours relaxing, or it was a couple hours at the park, or a couple hours dirt bike riding. Like we just fit in so much, but we did so on our terms. So it was so fulfilling instead of draining. And it was just amazing. So one small adjustment, kind of along the same vein, is that I'm ready to start seeing the family start taking just one lap around the block. I used to think, well, it was like, oh, well, if we can't get our mile a day in, don't even bother. And when the kids and I just started doing it was really just to get the dog out for a quick second. Just even taking the 2-minute lap around the block, it gets us out in nature. The dogs love it. The kids love it. The walk around the block, just 2 minutes dedicated to that and that alone. And it really was worth it. So we're going to start that back up again. Just one lap or just a couple hours. I'm excited to see kind of how that mindset shift, how that carries us into the fall. And then the last positive routine I'm looking forward to, it isn't necessarily something we started over summer, but it is something I maybe found a new respect and value for over the summer by not having it, right? Like sometimes we don't know what we have until it's gone. So I want to reestablish a routine where I make time for my physical health again. Starting and stopping these routines has been so normal in my life. I think it's normal for all of us. I think it's an area where like I constantly work to give myself grace because I don't believe that any of us like start a workout routine with the intention of not finishing it or not hitting our goals. But inevitably, life or an injury or whatever pops up. And sometimes even just being able to start again is the hardest thing. So the whole reason I started Orange Theory at the beginning of this year was to just switch up old routines that were no longer serving me and to get into a new community and to finally, for the first time in a long time, I committed to doing this whole physical health thing the right way. And what I mean by that is I committed to doing cardio and weight training and watching my diet by eating a lot more protein, and avoiding. In fact, I wouldn't allow the starve myself diet was no longer acceptable because I've done that. I've had great success on the starve me diet, so it's really nice to try and go back to that. But I just know long term that that's not what like I that's not the example even I want to set for myself or my kids. So while it was a slow outward change in the body that was occurring when I was doing the Orange Theory Fitness workouts pretty really regularly, I know that I was gaining strength and I was toning up this body and I was feeling good. So I deserve to get back to that, like for me and my health. And then, of course, like I said, to be a good example. So I'm excited to start scheduling those workouts again. All right, bringing this thing home. Well, this summer has been one of the best in typical summer fashion. Our normal routines flew out the window. And now that school is back in session, I am so ready for more structure back in my life. So, with that, we'll wrap up just with the 6 kind of summarized, unjuggled tips for today that number one, bedtimes are important, and days where you just get to stay in your jammies all day really are wonderful. Number two, some routines are in place for self care, like adult football leagues or date nights and fitness routine. And it's really important to get back to those regularly scheduled events. Also, our summer diets looked very different than our normal diet. And my kids are probably going to be sad that they can't live off popsicles for the rest of their days. So, hashtag hard truth. They're going to figure it out. But hey, on a good note, and summary point number 4, finding something that the family can all contribute to, like cooking together, it really can bring great joy and connection. And it's absolutely worth letting timelines slip away for. Number 5, just a couple hours is absolutely enough. And it created more time for us to do even more of the things we really wanted to do. And then last but not least, starting and stopping fitness routines. They're not easy, but it is something I'm looking forward to doing for myself again. And that alone feels really, really good. So, how about you? I want to know, are there some routines that you are so relieved that summer is over and you get to get back to? Any routines that you think you'll change now that you're heading into fall? Maybe a summer, gave you a different perspective. I'd love to hear from you in the review section or direct message, really, truly on any of the social platforms. So, I just appreciate you being here and thanks for listening. Until next time, bye. Hey, wait, one last thing before you go. If this landed with you today and you want to see how you could apply this personally in your life, I've got some really exciting news. So, inspired by this podcast, it's official. The coaching programs are open and accepting new clients now. I would be so honored to be the coach in your corner to get you from where you are now to cashing in that freedom ticket for more peace, joy, and purpose in your life. So, if you're interested in hearing more, please be sure to check out BrittanyTalenti.com and book a call today. Don't worry, I'll still be here every week cheering you on and on juggling our life struggles together. Okay, for real now. Until next time. Bye.